Okay, okay. We can continue our work day with Ante Ivcevic. Ante is a researcher of PAPRAC, and he will present the ADIADAPT project that is an important inspiration for our project. Please, Ante, with your presentation. Thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you. Good morning, almost afternoon to everyone. I'm glad to see you, although only virtually for me. And I'm glad to share some lessons learned of the Adria Adapt project and where we are today after its conclusion. I work for PAPRAC. I'm a program officer, and PAPRAC is a Priority Actions Program, Regional Activities Center. It is part of the UN Environment Program, Mediterranean Action Plan. So in the Mediterranean Action Plan, we have several centers in Rome, Marseille, Barcelona, Tunis, Valletta, Athens, and we in Split. In Split, each center has its own core mission, and our core mission is assistance to countries to implement the ICZM protocol, so the Integrated Coastal Zone Management, which is our main activity. And since the ICZM protocol of Barcelona Convention is our main activity, I just want to shortly remind you all that the ICZM means a dynamic process for the sustainable management and use of coastal zones. And although it dates back from 2008, just a second, I got kicked out of my presentation. Although it is rather old, since 2008, it still opens several challenges, and it's still scientifically interesting. So in this changing world, so I really want to invite you to have a look at our paper that we just published several months ago on identifying success factors for integrated coastal zone management, and you have the QR code here if you want to have a look. It seems that governance is the key success factor when we are developing coastal ICZM plans in the Mediterranean. And of all the objectives of ICZM, which sound also logical to us today, facilitate sustainable development, preserve the coastal zone, ensure sustainable use of resources and water, ensure the preservation of ecosystems, prevent the effects of natural hazards and climate change, ensure coherence between public and private initiatives and different decisions. Precisely this one, reducing the effects of natural hazards and in particular of climate change, is what gives us the space and what drives us into climate change adaptation, which ended up which started, let's say, with the Adria Adapt project. Other reason, of course, I won't enter in details. We all know our tough reality in the Mediterranean. The reason why we work on climate change adaptation is in the state of the Mediterranean which we're living every day. It is the days of extremes, and the coasts are under severe pressure, just like other components of our lives. So we did the Adria Adapt project, an Interreg Italy-Croatia project, and of this project, Adria Adapt platform. It's a resilience information platform for Adriatic cities and towns. I kindly invite you to have a look at it, and I will now also go through its main components. So the Adria Adapt as a project finished in June 2021. My colleagues Daria and Ivan were working on it. I started beginning of 2021, so for the final stage of the project. And I would say that the main components, that the first of the main components of the Adria Adapt platform is this integrated adaptation planning tool, which puts stakeholders in the center of the process. And it starts from starting the process, assessing the vulnerability, step 3, setting the vision, step 4, designing the plan, and step 5, implementing the plan. Among the participants of the project, there was also the Croatian Meteorological and Hydrological Service as the partner of the project. So we use this partnership to develop climate projections for our domain, which means North Adriatic, full Croatia plus North Italy. And until the end of the century, we have the projection of the increase in summer temperatures between 2 and 4.5 degrees Celsius. We will have 20 to 30 tropical nights more, and up to 4 millimeters of daily precipitation less in winter and more in summer, based on two different scenarios, 8.45 and 4.5. The knowledge platform Adria Adapt consists of more than 40 adaptation options. We group them in societal, green, and gray measures. And I kindly invite you to have a look at it. These adaptation options based on the metrics were very interesting to our partners from the Southern Mediterranean. As you know, we work in the whole Mediterranean basin, which means also from the countries from the south and east part of the Mediterranean. For them, this platform ended up being very useful. But besides adaptation options, even more praised were the case studies. So we developed 11 case studies, not only from Italy and Croatia, but also from Slovenia, France, Greece, and so the studies were are broader in the description, all follow the same process, and therefore, since the partners really looked for it, they were so popular that we decided to expand it, and we prepared 10 additional case studies from the Mediterranean basin, which brought us to the stage that we want to now expand the Adria Adapt to MedAdapt, to make it a platform, knowledge-based platform for climate adaptation for the whole Mediterranean. And of course, the Adria Adapt finished with several guidelines, handbooks, video material in 3 different languages, Croatian, Italian, and English. You can still have a look at some of the webinars that are there and access the documents. Adria Adapt as an Interreg project was immediately followed by another Interreg project, Italy-Croatia, called CREATE, Climate Responses for the Adriatic Region. PAPRAC was in charge of communication work package, so we used the Adria Adapt products to disseminate it to broader network of users. And this is, let's say, where the story of Adria Adapt was meant to end, but it did not end. So just to have a look at my time, it's fine. I have the time to show you where we are today with Adria Adapt products. So we are working on the project called the MED program. It is enhancing environmental security. It is funded by the Global Environmental Facility. And we are developing ICZM coastal plans for 2 sites, one in Montenegro and other in Morocco. So in this plan preparation, we are following the same process, same 5 steps of the ICZM planning. We combine expert knowledge and stakeholder participation, and the priorities are different from one site to the other site. But what is the same is the climate change. Climate change and adaptation to climate change is the transversal issue of both plans. So we used the result of Adria Adapt project and Adria Adapt platform as the recommendation of adaptation measures to tackle the main climate hazards in the area, such as heat waves, droughts, and torrential floods or coastal storms. And we use this input to discuss with the stakeholders what would be the climate change adaptation measures in their particular coastal plans. So in the case of Boka Kotorska Bay in Montenegro, we proposed several measures on coastal flooding mitigation, on measures to adapt the marine environment, since Boka Kotorska Bay is a very fragile ecosystem, and also measures to increase the green areas to enhance soil permeability. And in the case of Morocco, quite similar, again, 3 groups of adaptation measures from Adria Adapt. But we did the cost-benefit analysis for only 2 selected measures due to the priorities of the region and also due to the data availability. I would like to underline that as a really key point to discuss when we're doing projects. What is the data available that we have so that we can follow the change, so that we can have the indicators that are measurable. And in this case, as in Montenegrin case, the measures are afforestation, reforestation, and the coastal defense infrastructure. So we did the cost-benefit analysis for that, and we even applied for a project based on this selection and this cost-benefit analysis. I would also just like to come back to the fact that the same work of integrated coastal zone management plans with the reflection on climate change adaptation can be done in the regional level, like in Morocco. Tanger, Tetuan, Al Hoceima region has more inhabitants than the whole Republic of Croatia. And then on the other side, it can be used on a small scale, like Boka Kotorska Bay, which includes 3 municipalities. But also it can be done on the size of a city, like in Croatia, city of Kaštela. I want to use this time to show you how in the work of designing the future and the strategic planning, we do combine different sources of funds and different types of plans. So we started with 2014 with the assessment of costs of sea level rise in Republic of Croatia using DIVA methodology. And then the city of Kaštela liked the study. We did the project and we got the EU funds with the collaboration of the development agency of Split Dalmatia County for the city of Kaštela. Then the second project was the river basin, River Jadro, the river that feeds actually the city of Split and the whole area. And then the county, so in Croatia we don't have the regions, we have something smaller that Mr. before me, Mante, mentioned. We have Split Dalmatia County that saw the results of those two plans and then decided to fund with their own budget the Split Dalmatia County Coastal Plan as a strategic document. And this multi-level governance and collaboration between the local scale and then sub-county scale and then county scale is what brings us today from the vulnerability analysis of Kaštela Coastal Management Plan to the selection of climate adaptation solutions to the city of Kaštela as the reply to the streams and coastal flooding, to today big horizon project from climate adaptation to nature-based solutions called DesirMed, demonstration and mainstreaming of nature-based solutions for climate resilient transformation in the Mediterranean. Split Dalmatia County, based on this strategic planning, is selected as a demonstration region together with other ones from Greece, Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, and Cyprus in this Horizon project that we started last year. Based on this work, I just want to conclude with what next with the climate adaptation in coastal plans. We believe that those two things cannot be separated. I'm really glad to see the outcomes of your project, particularly what you mentioned, the climate adaptation plans for municipality of Sali and city of Crikvenica, but also, if I understood it well, a region of Abruzzo. Because climate adaptation plan is something that is closely related to the integrated coastal zone management plans, what we are doing. We believe that the ICZM is an important approach to climate change adaptation. We believe that we need to work on establishing a governance model for a resilient coastline, because we have seen in the cases of Morocco and Montenegro that governance is the key success factor for the ICZM. And we believe that we have to have the data to ensure monitoring to be able to see what is the success of our implementation. Nothing of that can be done without a proper stakeholder engagement, which is actually one of the components of governance mechanisms. I will finish with this. I think I'm fine with time. Thank you very much. And please, if you have some questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Ante. There are some questions? No? No? Many questions. Davor, please. Okay.
I don't hear anything.
Thank you, Ante. This was very, very inspiring. And I'll ask you just a few questions, but I have many, many more in my head. Did you encounter problems with the system of measurement of the results of these projects? So we have the International Standard Organization standards, but sometimes they are not accurate enough, and there are some difficulties with their implementation. So how can we actually make our measurements better. That's one. And the second one, I fully agree with you that governance is the main issue. That's why my main topic in this my main course is actually governing the commons. So it's on actually yeah, I fully agree with you. Governance is actually the basic thing. But we know that I think for the last 40, 50 years since Elinor Ostrom actually put the question of governments front. Yes, and actually I'm free for any future collaboration, because you mentioned also you also mentioned the nature-based solutions. We had a conference on 29th of May in Rijeka. We had a guest from Centro Nazionale delle Ricerche from Pisa, and she's actually working on European standards for nature-based solutions. So we will have probably during the next year full standards for nature-based solutions that we will have them to integrate in every future project and program. So yeah, I'm sorry for so many questions, but
thank you.
Okay. Some of them are not questions, just comments. And
thank you very much. Shall I reply immediately? Thank you for your questions and comments. I agree that we do have the problem of following, like checking how our work is being implemented, and to ensure the sustainability actually of what has been done. Measurement of results is something that we are constantly dealing with it. I will give you an example that I think worked quite well, and the example where it did not work well. So currently we are working in several countries within this MET program. In Lebanon, I'm personally involved in the work of the Lebanon's ICZM national strategy and law, and in Morocco for this regional plan that I just mentioned. So in case of Lebanon, we do not have the, I mean, Lebanon is in a very complex geopolitical and economical situation. So this is the first thing to say. But besides that, we do not, although we tried putting together different institutions, for example, National Research Center, university who we work with, University of Balamand, then Ministry of Environment, to put them together in terms of who will be the one that stocks the data, to ensure the full transfer of data from one open access from one institution to the other, to our project partners. We still did not manage to do it. I don't think so. I don't think that the main reason is the geopolitical situation and economy of the country. Country is very small. Different stakeholders are fighting for their sources of external funds. There's no obligation to share the data. So this is very critical, actually, point. In the case of Morocco, we do have the regional database that is under the Regional Directorate for Environment, which is the regional ministry actually in Morocco. And that is way better, because I can immediately pick up the phone and call or send email or call our contact person from this database called CRED, and get the data, all the data that is inside. So I don't want to say that the first point is political will, but it is really for the, if we are focused only on projects, we will not have the implementation of our projects, because people, when the project ends, they're open to other projects, and then they care 1% of the past project. They are focused on the current project because current project is what pays them, pays their living. So I think that the only way of overcoming this issue is not being focused on projects, but on strategies or programs that have bigger duration to ensure the continuity of our work. For example, 5 to 10 years, it will be ideal, of course. These coastal plans have the validity of 20 years, and then every 5 years we have to do the update. So this gives us the possibility to really work more on it. And then you mentioned the other thing, the governance is the main issue. You are definitely a bigger expert than we are in this topic. We do see that it's the main issue, but often stakeholders don't understand that governance is not the government. That they are also, if they are included in the coastal plan, that they are also the stakeholders, which means that they contribute to governance mechanisms, that each one of them has their role, that the role is not only to sit there and to sign the document or to vote and to say that it's approved, but also to read it. It takes time. It takes personal and political commitment again. And yes, PAPRAC is open for future collaborations. We do participate in different types of projects, of course, if they deal with our key activities, which are integrated coastal zone management, climate change adaptation, and marine spatial planning. Thank you. I think that I addressed all of your points.
Thank you, and we stay in touch.
Thank you.
Yes. Ante, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think that in the future we can have other opportunities to share our experiences. And for now, thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm looking forward to see your pilot sites climate adaptation plans, and hopefully we will collaborate soon in the future on some of the projects.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Okay, enjoy. Okay, Antonio Frankovic for Irena.
Yes. Hi, Rosalba. Hello to everyone.
Ok, Antonio.
Hi, I'm here.
Oh, vieni qua, vieni che non ti vede. Ciao.
Ciao. Hi.
To see you.
Ciao.
Ecco Chiara Barchesi.
Come stai?
Hi. I'm great. Thanks.
Okay.
It's nice to see you too as well.
Yes.
I mean, I don't see you, but it's nice that you're there.
Okay. Antonio is a researcher of IRENA. IRENA was our partner for joint SECAP project with the Abruzzo region. And Antonio will present an important project, an Horizon Europe project called CARDIMED, about the adaptation, climate change through nature-based solution. Okay, Antonio, can you share your presentation?
Yes. So.
Okay. Yes.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm changing. You can see the changing of the slides. If something is wrong, let me know. Okay, so hello once again to everyone. As Rosalba said, I am Antonio Frankovic. I am a senior associate for IRENA, Istrian Regional Energy Agency, and I will tell you something about the project CARDIMED, which is based on nature-based solutions to build climate resilience and adaptation in the Mediterranean region. We wanted to focus here on Project Ideal, where we were a lead partner before, which was an Interreg Italy-Croatia project, where we developed climate plans for a municipality here in Istria. However, this project ended in 2019, so probably the regulation has already been outdated. So probably hopefully this project will be more useful and interesting for you. So just shortly about IRENA, we are a non-profit organization with 10 employees. We were founded in 2009 by the regional authority, and we have experience mostly with Interreg projects, live projects, Horizons, with more than 30 projects finished in blue energy, marine litter, energy communities, climate adaptation, mitigation, just transition, using waste as a resource, and so on. Here you can see our main goals. So energy efficiency, energy savings in public and private sector, use of renewable energy sources, cogeneration, and environmental protection. Moving on to the main climate risks and vulnerabilities of our region, which is also a focus area in a CARDIMET project. So what was defined in also in the joint SECAP project was that we have a high vulnerability risk and vulnerability of drought. So drought specifically aimed with the agricultural sector. So drought and also heat strokes and heat waves related to the health sector, and extreme precipitation and increase in average temperatures, which is mostly related to the damages done to the tourism sector. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So as you can see, we have a large coastline area, which is prone to risk from flooding. And we also had in 2022 a first-degree water reduction for the first time in 10 years, which shows you that we do have the trend of drought risk is increasing. Also, the risk of flash flooding. Last year, we had a lot of flash floods in Croatia with substantial damages in urban and rural areas. So here you can see the main economic activities in our region. So tourism, construction material production, various processing, production, agriculture, sea fishing, and so on. But as I said, the main damages are done to the tourism and agriculture sectors. So here, just shortly, you can see some of the flooding in Pula, which is the largest city in Istria. This was some years ago. Infrastructure was enhanced from that time, so now there are no. These areas are mostly covered as far as flooding goes, but the city is still, the region is still at risk from flooding. And on the upper right slide, you can see the King Tomislav Square, which is a square you can see on the next slide here, which was later renovated in order to improve water retention. With rain gardens and with plants, so plants that retain water, and I also want to say that there were more than 3 billion euros of economic damages in Croatia in the 2010 to 2021 period connected to the climate, to natural disasters, with the largest share coming from drought and from flooding. So we do have a significant issue here that can be addressed by CARDIMET project, which you will see in continuation. Here, just some pictures also from another rain garden in Pula, in the main roundabout coming into the city, with a connecting road also designed for and constructed with rain gardens for water retention. So this brings us to our project, CardIMET project, which is a Horizon Europe project, which started in September 2023. It's involving 50 partners and has a 20 million euro budget. So it's a substantial project, which is aimed at, you can see here the activities. So the basic activities of the projects are to develop 9 different types of nature-based solutions, which are aimed at climate adaptation and resilience. And these 9 demos are then are involving 20 pilot locations, which have different characteristics, so rural, urban, and industrial areas. And it's also, the solutions will also be encompassing a wide thematic area, from decarbonization to microforest planting, use of rain gardens, green walls, smart use of industrial water, grey water. And this is all designed to produce different types of nature-based solutions that can be then upscaled or downscaled for local or regional areas. And the project, so some of the demos are already complete, some of them are still ongoing, but when all these demos are completed, then the project will gather finalized documentation that will have all the necessary documents, all the necessary permits, the whole procedure from start to end, the development, the implementation phase, which will be available to use, as I said, on local and regional level. And it's aimed at various different climate risk, from coastal risk to coastal flooding risk, inland flooding risk, droughts, hail, various problems. So the end goal of the project is to develop 47 flexible nature-based solutions in a total of 83 interventions that will then be scalable on a bigger or smaller level. And here you can see a map of all the demos, which are currently in progress. Some of them are complete, some of them are in progress. We are acting here as a replication partner, which means that once the demos are complete, we will then use one of the nature-based solutions, which is done, to implement in our area. We are currently in the phase of deciding which nature-based solution is best for our area in communication with our work package leader. So we have to determine, based on the characteristics, the geographical, socioeconomic, and other characteristics, what are the best solutions to use in our area, and then it will be tailor-made to our region. And here I listed 3 different demos, which I will present shortly today, just so you see what the work is, being done. So the first one is a demo from the Aegean Islands in Greece, and this one is on Sifnos Island, where a network of 180 traditional stone weirs, stone walls, have already been mostly constructed, and this is basically a diversion of rainwater runoff, where water will be provided for the agricultural land and will improve conditions for biodiversity of the area and reduce flood risk in the tourist area nearby. So as I said, it's already been mostly constructed. It has also water level sensors to determine droughts. And so, as I said, this is the first one. The second one is the construction of rain gardens in Catania. So this one is not yet complete, but it will address urban flood risk reduction and water scarcity. So on the left side, you see the current roundabout in one of the main avenues in Catania, Adria Avenue. And on the right side is the concept design, which will be implemented and will contain a rain garden, which will be focused either mostly on biodiversity or on water retention. And the runoff stormwater will be gathered through the existing sewer network, which will be adjusted. It will be upgraded with the hydraulics to gather water and to irrigate the area. So for this project, a feasibility study has been done, and a detailed survey and a basic design after that. It will retrofit around 800 meters square of rain gardens and about 2,400 meters square of road surface to gather draining water. So I realize this is not really a coastal, but these are the examples which are closest to flooding, which we have. And for the last demo, I want to mention also microforests in France. So on the left side, you see the before pictures, and on the right side, the after pictures, where a microforest with the 63 trees and 70 different species was planted, and also 4 bioswales, and raw chipped natural mulch was placed in the area with a drip irrigation system. So this nature-based solution is designed to reduce runoff, to reduce sea pollution, to improve air quality, to enhance groundwater recharge, and so on. You can see a diagram here of how it works. So how the nature-based solution leads to less sea pollution and air quality, improved air quality, and other benefits. And also an example of the water retention that happens in the area, which was taken, I think, in October of last year. So this is it from me. At the end, I just want to say that also the project is planning to establish a cardiment resilience alliance, and this alliance will expand the network. So all these solutions, all these demo nature-based solutions will be finalized and will be replicated, and it will be available for use. So hopefully this is something that can be used also in your project, maybe to connect with them if you think it's valuable. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. Are there some questions? I have a question for Antonio, but do you have questions? No? Okay. Okay. Compliment. Okay, Antonio, a question.
Yes.
Are there some correlation, some links between, for example, vulnerability risks of territory and the choice of nature-based solution? What is the motive to use a particular nature-based solution in a place? I think that is a gap in the research, because all nature-based solution, can you use nature-based solution in many and many places, but the choice for the selection, what is if you have in this project link a type of vulnerability, a type of risk, and then in that territory only this nature-based solution. For example, the rain garden, it's not possible in some territories because there is the need to water, okay, in summer, etc., for example. And I think that is the problem, and this project can be a solution to make a possible answer to this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Was that, I'm not sure if that was a question or a comment, but okay. I can just say that
yes,
I think
the question is what is because you have selected some nature-based solution for a place and other nature-based solution for other places. In the presence of the same problem, there is a reason. No. Okay?
Yes.
Understand
okay,
my question?
I think
okay.
I understand. Yes, so the nature-based solutions which I selected now are, I selected these ones basically because they are more related to flooding, which is, I would say, more in line with your project. However, when we do, so now we are at the stage of determining which one we will select. But this is, as you said, we have a lot of eligible places where it can be implemented, but we are mostly limited by the local government, which is which we have to have we have to have permission from them, and this is I would say, in my experience, the most difficult step to make work. The implementation phase is I won't say easy, but easier than the initial permits. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
okay.
we will as I said, have to determine with them what is possible in the project, and then move on from there. But we are still not at that stage. We are just initiating that stage now.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. Thank you very much. And we can pass the other presentation. Thank you, Antonio. Hi. And Chiara Barchesi with the Joint SecUp project. Another... Cosa? Sì, aspetta che vediamo un attimo. Aspetta, fammi capire dove sta scritto te.
Sì, infatti non c'è.
Aspetta,
okay,
eccoci,
eccolo.
Ok.
Se l'abbassi più da qua, no. Questo lo puoi chiudere.
Ecco, allora facciamo così.
Sacca.
Perché sì.
Io vedo veloce perché
condividi.
Già sta condivisa.
Ok.
Sì, è già condivisa.
Ok. Ok.
Grazie.
Okay.
Here I am again to talk about the Joint CCAP project. Joint CCAP is the acronym for Joint Strategies for Climate Change Adaptation in Coastal Areas. This is a project which has been funded by the Interreg Italy-Croatia program. The project started in 2019 and ended in 2021 with a total budget of around 2 million euros. And it has been framed in the specific objective 2.1, that is improve the climate change monitoring and planning of adaptation measures. And non è condiviso?
Su WebEx.
Ok.
Aspetta. Come posso uscire?
Allora.
Lo streaming è solo la soggettiva della stanza.
Ok.
Ecco, qua questa.
Però con la sì.
Ok, e l'applicazione o lo schermo? Guarda.
Schermo.
Sì, sì, sì.
Ok.
Ok, adesso sì.
E mettiamo qui.
No.
No,
No, perché fa questo termino.
No.
Sorry, we're trying to show the presentation. Infatti la presentazione.
Allora, quindi su che cos'è?
questa qui, sì.
È questa?
Sì.
Sì.
Dovrebbero essere. Vado in pieno schermo qua.
Sì, sì, guarda.
Verifico.
Grazie. Concerning the partnership, the project was led by the University of Camerino, and the other partners were Irena, Municipality of San Benedetto del Tronto, Regione Abruzzo, the Municipality of Caras, the West Center, Primore Gorski Kotar County, County of Split Dalmatia, and the Municipality of Vela Luca. The objective of the project was to build a common methodology for the definition and realization of joint CCAPs, thus joint sustainable energy and climate action plans, and focused on sharing knowledge on climate change adaptation strategies and mitigation measures. The focus of the project was at the intermunicipality scale, as I mentioned in my previous presentation. Main outputs of the projects are a platform to support the realization of the CCAPs of the plan. The platform is still running. I will show it to you later so that you can even check and download documents if needed. And we realized 9 joint CCAPs. Thus, we do worked at the joint CCAP plans. We worked, as I already said, at intermunicipal scale. That's why I'm talking about joint CCAP and not a single CCAP. And we had 5 pilot areas in Croatia and 4 in Italy. In Croatia, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, maybe it's not correct. So it is Korčula, right? Is it? Because I've been there, and also in Vela Luca, really beautiful. Yeah, do you remember? Yes. We traveled a lot for Joint CCAP and we really enjoyed Croatia. So Korčula Island in Dubrovnik-Neretva County with 5 municipalities. Brač Island is Split Dalmatia. Brač Island is Split Dalmatia, thank you. With 8 municipalities. Primorje Gorski Kotar region with 1, 5 municipalities as well: Dubrovnik-Neretva region and Istria region. In Italy, as Abruzzo region, we had 2 target areas, one which indeed was internal, even if the focus of the project was on coastal areas. We decided to have one internal area which was mostly hilly and characterized by the presence of the river, and another one which was on the coast, on the Teramo coast. Then there was the area of the Pescara municipality with the neighborhood municipalities, and the last one, the areas of San Benedetto del Tronto. With other municipalities. So we had in total 9 pilot areas. That's why I said that we have as output 9 joint SECAPs. The project, of course, as all European project, was made up by several work packages, but it is important to say that it was organized into 2 main phases. Reflecting the need to operate on a wider district level and better define strategies and actions for climate change adaptation. The first phase was made up by the recognition of plans and expected measures and the local and supralocal financing opportunities. For this, we prepared a template. Thus, we collected data at national, regional, and local level. All the partners, of course, contributed so that we had a first analysis of the state of the art. Then we made the climate analysis of Croatia and Marche and Abruzzo regions in Italy, which were directly involved with the municipalities. Then we made the recognition of some international case studies to compare different methods to assess vulnerabilities and risks in order to learn from them and capitalize on the best experiences. The second phase was focused on the construction of the zero scenario, thus what would have happened without adaptation actions, and the optimal scenario, which in this was how to improve the scenario through the adaptation actions and plans. Then we worked at the launch of preliminary report scoping and C guidelines. And finally, we developed the platform and we used it to build adaptation actions. What I want to say, I go back a bit, is that basically we relied on the Covenant of Mayor tools because as you surely know, the Covenant of Mayors has developed a template for SECAPs and also the guidelines which have been made by JRC. So first of all, we relied on this document. So we took into account this, and the other document which have been really at the basis of our work have been the 5th report of IPCC, for example, which has been really fundamental for us. And making a merge between all this document, we started working at the project, and we think we were discussing this with Rosalba during next days, that a very important tool we worked at and we developed within our project, and which can be useful for CRESCO Adria as well, are the impact chains. In fact, this is a tool which is important to qualify risks. In our project, we developed 36 impact chains. I'm going to read exactly the definition of impact chains from our super mega guidelines, which are also at your disposal and which can be used also for CRESCO Adria, because the impact chain is an analytical tool that helps better understand, systemize, and prioritize the factors that drive risk in the system of concern. as well as their cause and effect relationships. As you can see from my slide, hazard, exposure, vulnerability, and risk are the components of the impact chain. And impact chain are really fundamental. Here you can see, for example, which were the main hazards we depicted in our project, such as the extreme drought event, heat stroke or heat waves, increase in average temperature, extreme precipitation, forest fire, rising water level. And we also have a clear picture of the sectors most affected by them, which were, first of all, multiple sector, but agriculture and tourism, health and water supply, and urban structures above all. So this tool is really important to qualify the risks affecting the pilot areas. In fact, if you go through the JRC guidelines of the Covenant of Mayors or the international documents, the vulnerability risk assessment is really needed in the path toward the realization of the SECAPs. These impact chains allowed us to identify exactly also the high and very high risk levels. Here there are just some examples, because for example we saw that in the pilot area of San Benedetto del Tronto, the very high risk levels were the damage to urban structure and people from consequences of urban flooding due to extreme weather events. Or for example, in Vela Luca, we had as a result the risk of forest fire events in forestry sector, or risk of high temperatures and precipitation in tourism, etc., etc. So as you can see, we had really a clear picture of the risk and risk levels. When identifying the risk evolution scenario 0, which, as I said, is the scenario without adaptation measures, it's really fundamental to involve stakeholders, but the right stakeholders, the one with expertise, the one who exactly knows the topic and the situation at local level. And at the project level, we identified as the main tool to involve stakeholders the focus groups. As you can see here in the slide, we had several focus groups at local level, and we involved many participants for defining the optimal scenario. So for the definition of the optimal scenario, we involved the stakeholders, and we were able to identify adaptation measures for specific hazards. This has been a quite complex process, but very helpful, because thanks to the focus group, we identified the soft, green, and gray measures. This has been already discussed also in other projects. So we saw that, in fact, there are many comparisons and points of contact between all the projects we have seen so far. And after the optimal scenario, we worked at the selection of the joint actions. This is very important because when working at SECAP at intermunicipal level, the Covenant of Mayors highlight that the municipality have to identify not only single adaptation action, but joint actions, so actions which has to be carried out at intermunicipal level. This is once again a quite complex process, because of course all municipalities belonging to the same climate area, we called them climate homogeneous area, have to agree on the actions to be implemented. So it is really, really needed the involvement not only of technicians, but also of the policy level, which is really fundamental for identifying the best joint actions. How this can be also useful as well for our CRESCO project. How we described and defined the joint actions. Of course, we used the template of the Covenant of Mayors. The template is the one you can see here in my slide. As you can see here, we described the type of action. The Covenant of Mayors asks us if it is a mitigation, adaptation, or energy poverty action. The title of the action, of course, the origin, if it is national, regional, or whatever. The responsible body, short description, implementation period, set of implementation, stakeholders involved, costs, funding, results, and duration. All the documents developed within our joint SECAP project are available in the platform. Here you have the link. It is hosted by the University of Camerino. In the section results, you have the guidelines manual for making all the documents. So, for example, the vulnerability and risk assessment tutorial. You can find all the templates we developed, the scenario 0, how to develop an optimal scenario. And you also have the 9 SECAPs. So you can really see how we worked at SECAPs, how these plans were made. And this platform, of course, is at the disposal of all municipalities which wants to make a SECAP. So it is really intended to support them. Here I'm going quite quickly because I tried to point out which are the main point of discussion when implemented joint SECAPs. But all these issues have been already highlighted because it is really important to say that to make a joint SECAP is an institutional cooperation process because municipalities has really to cooperate, and it is also important the cooperation at both the technical and policy level. The involvement of also policy representatives in the identification of the action is crucial. But it is not always so easy to involve municipalities in this process because they really have to be committed to adaptation to climate change. They really need to know their territory because otherwise they cannot choose the proper actions to be implemented. They have to cooperate because in our understanding and also in the joint SECAP project, really we thought that adaptation to climate change is something at intermunicipal level because there are climate homogeneous areas. It's really not possible that, for example, in Abruzzo we have 305 municipalities. It is really not possible that we have 305 adaptation plans. But they have to work at the intermunicipal level once again because they have the same problems. They don't have resources to implement the plans, but especially to monitor the plans. Monitoring of the plans is really crucial because municipalities don't have the resources, both in terms of expertise, human resources, and funding. So coordination, for example, at regional level, as we did in joint SECAP, is maybe one of the key. The involvement of stakeholders is crucial. So once again, the governance, involvement of stakeholders, as it has been already highlighted, are really crucial. It is also very difficult to go from the planning phase to the implementation of intervention because the SECAP is a living tool. It's really not possible to think that the SECAP we developed in 2021 is still good because it is already old since we had the National Plan of Recovery and Resilience, which introduced new funding opportunities, new intervention, etc. That the SECAP must be always monitored, always implemented and updated, and we need resources at local level, regional, and of course national to do this. And this is really, really important. So the exchange, as I said, of vertical and horizontal information between public bodies. This is the last slide. Here, indeed, there's written what I already said. In terms of lessons learned, what I want to really highlight that, for example, in identifying adaptation actions, it's really challenging the consensus on joint actions to be undertaken by partners, because if you want to identify and implement proper adaptation action, a consensus is needed, as I said, at both technical and political level. And really focus groups and bilateral meetings, direct contact with stakeholders is really important, because the stakeholders really need to have experience, in particular in participatory process. And in this case, it is really advisable to involve stakeholders with this feature. Of course, also there is a challenge in the identification of data. Climate data are not always homogeneous. There is a lack of data, so it is really needed to make them homogeneous. Maybe to interpolate the data with the Copernicus platform, for example. That's something we did for the municipality of Pescara. And the definition of this is the last tip that I hope will be helpful also for CRESCO Adria project, is that the effectiveness of the methodology really depends on the number and quality of the stakeholders identified. So the first workshop, for example, we already organized the first 2 workshops with stakeholders. We really saw how important it is to have the right stakeholders and to identify the right tools and plans. So that's all. If you want, you can read all the documents we produce, but of course we are here. Rosalba was a super coordinator, as I'm sure Deborah will be and is now. And so I'm sure that we will have a great work. Thank you.
Grazie. Allora, voglio aggiungere solo una cosa e voglio dirla bene, per questo Pietro mi tradurrà. Allora, questo è stato un progetto molto importante per i comuni, perché ha permesso poi di innescare altre progettazioni. Il progetto di cui vi parlerò insieme ai miei colleghi questo pomeriggio, che è il Life Agrinet, che è un progetto che mette insieme tanti comuni, prende l'avvio proprio dal Joint SECAP sul tema dell'innalzamento delle temperature. Quindi è stato comunque un'esperienza veramente importante, un'esperienza che ci ha anche, adesso poi dico altre cose più là, che ci ha confermato una cosa, cioè il problema è: noi possiamo fare i più bei piani di adattamento del mondo, ma se non sono legati alla pianificazione urbanistica, non hanno gli strumenti per poter trovare attuazione. E questo è il problema che noi abbiamo in questo paese, ma penso in tutta Europa, almeno da quello che ho pensato. Allora, questa integrazione deve essere fatta e secondo me CRESCO Adria ha questa opportunità. E c'è anche un'altra opportunità. Questo riguarda l'Italia e la Regione Abruzzo, che noi abbiamo una nuova legge urbanistica regionale in cui l'adattamento è un elemento portante, diciamo. C'è proprio una parte che si occupa di adattamento. Quindi la sperimentazione sulla base dell'esperienza che noi facciamo, che abbiamo fatto con Joint SECAP, ci deve guidare per far diventare CRESCO Adria uno strumento poi che trova applicazione nei piani, cosa purtroppo che non è stata, almeno fino ad oggi, con Joint SECAP. Poi dimmi sempre, ok?
I'll riassumere un po' di
Sì.
Okay, so the professor was talking about how this project was really crucial and important for the municipalities, because, and also it allowed to lead to other projects as well. So the project life part, Agrinet, involved more municipalities, and
the same municipalities. Some of the municipality, no, all the municipality of joint SECAP, Abruzzo region are in life agreement.
Okay. And this was about the rising temperature due to climate change. So it was important as well because of that, of that reason. The experience, the kind of experience was important, of course, because also it gave confirmation that the main problem maybe is not giving birth to projects like this, but is to link this kind of project to real and actual urban planning and projects and planification that in that kind of regard have to be implemented practically in real and common life every day. Otherwise, it will not be something that can be effective in what we want to achieve. And of course, another important thing that we have to point out is that in the region, we have a new law about spatial planning, spatial and urban planning. And this is important because this kind of experience that we are gathering now, thanks to this project, can allow us to guide this CRESCO project to be and to become a real effective tool towards the changing and the adaptability education that we want to achieve.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have any question? Okay. Okay. Ma infatti questo io non capisco, infatti questo è il problema. Ok, sì, quindi lo dobbiamo imparare. Sto a capire. Filippo Magni, good morning, Filippo, for the last presentation of this morning. Filippo is a researcher of University of Venice, UAV, and Filippo will present a recent experience, the project Miracle, about multi-risk integrated resilience approach for coastal landscape and environment. Filippo, please, thank you very much for this presentation.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. I know that now my role is really uncomfortable. I try to be not too long and not too boring, considering the timing. I will thank for the invitation and the possibility to present on a very important project that we are following in collaboration with the other actor in the Italian perspective. The project that I will present today is called Miracle. Don't be afraid about the name. We are not creating something as the miracle like Jesus, but we try to find a new way to interact with the communities and with the territory, try to find a way to balance the needs of the community in the territory and the problem provided by climate change and the environmental question. I will firstly thank Chiara Barchesi for the presentation, the first presentation, because more or less she organized what the theoretical aspect that I could skip very quickly, because one element important before to start entering in the presentation is the roots of this specific project, and the roots starts and belongs to the European adaptation strategy that was launched in 2021, and in particular the specific target of this European strategy, that the frame was not intended to lose time to understand the things or understand the importance of climate change, but shift the idea from understanding the problem and to adapt the territory very quickly and very fast. In particular, addressing three main areas of this specific adaptation strategy, that is a smart adaptation, systemic adaptation, and fast adaptation. And the Miracle project will try to be coherent with these first two aspects of the adaptation European strategy. In particular, put in charge all the smartness technology that we learned from these 20 years experiments and 20 years of collaboration between research center, territory, public administration, and other European projects. And in particular, the way to understand in which way this capacity could be transferred to the territory and integrated to the community that live the territory and live the consequences of the climate change. Based on that, what is Miracle? Miracle is an Italian project, is a direct spin-off of a wider project that is called Return, and this spin-off is funded by the National Recovery Plan. Is a project that more or less is organized around three main big wider metropolitan area. One is the Veneto region, another is the Emilia-Romagna coastal areas, and another is the Naples metropolitan city and coastal areas. Thanks to this collaboration between North and South of Italy, we try to understand which are the common problem, the common approach to, as I said before, to reduce the risk posed by climate change and increase resilience of these territories. Territorial areas that are very complex and completely different. If you compare the Lagoon of Venice, that is a national peculiarity, compared to the riverfront of Naples, that have completely different aspect in terms of demographic elements, or even the socio-cultural and economical perspective. So this project tried to create a common perspective, a common methodology, a common way of doing the things, to be transferred from these three pilot cases into other possible metropolitan coastal areas. The main objectives, I repeat, is to involve people, involve communities, and find a way that join and bring together higher level technology and local grounded knowledge that the community could bring into this technology. The time frame of the project is organized in three main steps. The first step was more or less covered by last year in the middle of this 2025, where we more or less operate in a desk-based approach, collecting data and creating mappings and create more or less the layout to be transported and declined into the relation with the community through specific urban laboratories. The urban laboratories that we developed during all this spring, and we are quite finishing. The last urban laboratory was organized yesterday in Ravenna, and we miss only one that is in the Delta Po that will be organized in between the final of July and the initial of August. Landing to the last part that is organized in the next month, where we try to summarize all the lessons learned, and we try to create documents that could recommend some specific aspect between how we could use the technology and in which way we could interact with the community for increasing the resilience. Multi-risk. Why multi-risk? Because usually we consider a specific aspect of climate change individually. The project that we listened before, particularly even Adria that the UOV University was a partner of the project, consider the vulnerability aspect and some specific solution, considering one or each other impact related to climate change. But in some cases, we are not used to consider different level of risk altogether in the same geographical domain. So, for example, we are looking only flooding or hydrological risk or coastal erosion or heat island, all separated. The challenge of this project is the way of how we could integrate this kind of multi-risk in a geographical and defined space for supporting other type of needs that the community is asking to the public administration. Because remember, a thing that I missed, that this specific project is intended to support the public domain and public administration to face this kind of problem in a way to possibly modify policies addressing new tools or understanding in which way some action or measure or project site-specific would be more accorded to consider multi-risk dimension. So having this like a general framework, I could say that we create a new methodological workflow that, as I said, start with an identification of the characteristic of this specific area, collecting data with using the innovative technology like satellite data, using GIS systems, and other innovative tools that would bring together information and data that usually are collected and used separated. After this specific moment, we try to automatize this process just to create a tool that could be transferred in the next phases into other territories. And thanks to this automatization, we could differentiate the single specific area using different value. For example, for us, an area that is famous and recognized for the tourist dynamics, probably the value related to the touristic facilities are higher than another area that where tourist facilities are not so recognized and the touristic dimension is not the most important compared, for example, to industrial production. So thanks to this moment, we outlined some maps that were useful to interact with people, interact with communities, interact with the stakeholder that we involve in the in the urban laboratories that we organize in the specific pilot areas. So start with the initial part, as I said, the identification of this method, the areas. I just use one example that is the transect of the metropolitan area, wider metropolitan area of Veneto region that consider a transect that start from the Garda Lake until the Venice Lagoon and use as a limits, as a boundaries of this area, the limits of the water reclaimed system management authority. So just to understand, just to have a limits to be geographically defined the analysis. And to address this limit, to understand what is the territory beyond and within this limit, we use 5 elements to enter the collection of data. As I repeat, these 5 elements qualify what? In the idea of the IPCC framework to calculate vulnerability and risk, these elements are the elements that are able to define exposition, sensibility, and adaptive capacity, compared to the last one that more or less qualify the hazards compared to the rest of the elements that we overlap in the next phases. But just to have a brief overview of what does it mean for us, each of these elements, I show you a very some example of maps that collect all 1,000 of data, 1,000 of criteria and index that we join together. For example, in the demographic and socioeconomic, I just show you a map that underlines the structural dependency of population between young and older people. So in this case, you could see some area where the demographic dependencies is higher. So in this case, we have to pay attention. This is a larger perspective and the zoom perspective of in which way a municipality could recognize areas sensible for older people or where the younger and the sensible segment of the population needs to be considered with a higher value or with a less value, and so on. In relation to the morphological settlement, an example I could show you is the building coverage ratio. That is a classical dimension of the density of buildings compared to the census that we use as a geographical limits just to calculate the density of the buildings that show the expansion, the historical expansion of and the main corridors of the potential problem and sensible element exposed, for example, to flooding, to heat island, or to other elements to geomorphological risk, and so on. So these are examples of these 2 first thematic domain. Another, as I quote before, was related to the facilities and infrastructure that consider a larger scale of aspects like culture, like financial, like transportation infrastructure, like sports and other services for population that paint a variety of things and a very leopard quality of the territory that considered into this specific transit. And thanks to this, we could, for example, tailor-made a specific evaluation. For example, how value is the Palladio heritage and legacy in a cultural area like Vicenza? That is a classical touristic attractor for this city. If we have to evaluate the value of these elements, probably the value is bigger than other elements and other index that we could use and summarize in the multi-risk perspective. And other elements that qualify, in this case, the environmental quality, qualify more the adaptive capacity of the territory to respond, for example, to heat wave, or to capacity to absorb heavy rains or storm, or managing floodings, and so on. All of these qualify the healthy status of the vegetation in the area, and we could address very well in the negative part of the building coverage ratio. For example, what is not pervious is impervious, and the quality of this impervious area is characterized by different type of qualities, higher or lower. And finally, landing to the environmental hazards, to the climate hazards, in this case, I just show you the question posed by the land surface temperature, calculated, used the satellite data, in this case, the Landsat 8, and calculated over the 10-year frame that emphasize which are the area of the Veneto, the central Veneto area, that suffer more heat stress compared to the other. This is not a picture of one day, I repeat, is a very higher sophisticated calculation of what does it mean for an area, a geographical census, that overcomes specific temperature along the year, calculated and multiplied for 10 years, having the data and thanks to the technology that we could use for calculating this. All of this information together and calculated with a very automatized moment help us to understand and replicate the approach into our four thematic domain, pilot cases. One is the transit close by to Vicenza City, another is close by to the area of Naples, and in particular the northern part of the city, that now is famous for all the aspect and emergency created by the volcans and the magmatic movement that this area is suffering during the last period. Or in the southern part of the metropolitan area of Naples, or in the last one was related to the Emilia-Romagna coastal region, in particular in the southern part, close by to the city of Rimini, recognized for touristic activities. All of this, as I repeat, allow us to have this common layout. The common layout that is a risk map, in this case, emphasizing the level of the risk in relation to what? To the heat stress, not to the rest of the things. So this was the common layout that we create for the three main big transit, and using that, we start overlapping the other risk that I show you before. And the other risk that I show you before are what? Are the output, more or less, that we create in a desk base that represent the combination between hydraulic, seismic, hydrological, and coastal risk, combined all together, overlapped in the same area that I already showed you before, create maps that emphasize area where this kind of problem are higher, and where the urgency probably, or the attention that the public administration needs to have is higher than the others. So after this work, that was more or less technocratic work, because it's organized by a very high level competencies in a desk base, we start organizing the laboratory tools that interact with the community, and using this material, organizing in some different area, this different type of urban laboratories. What we realize? We realize, starting with desk perception, that I repeat is a desk base, so it's a sort of, it's very cold, it's very raw. We try to merge this with the priority of the community, that probably they don't are aware of this even risk or problems, but probably they have other type of risk, other type of urgency and problem. So this moment where we merge the perception of community in the different areas and bring together with the interaction with our experts, we achieve a very combined higher level that combine strategical area that face the classical or the results that we provide in a desk perception and the results provided by the community, both in terms of analytical dimension and even in a strategical dimension. Strategical that say in which way the community is imaging themselves in the future, which are the areas that the community require to be require more attention with a priority aspect. So that was the main result that creates a third level of material that will be part of the recommendation material that the project will provide to these three main metropolitan areas. What and I conclude just to after a very run presentation, what we leave to the community, an important platform where all this moment is organized is a storytelling platform where if you want to understand which were the steps, which material we have achieved, and which kind of aspect the community consider more relevant, you could visualize it into the platform that we are creating that will be online in a few weeks. So this is more or less what we achieve and what we are creating thanks to the activity provided by the Miracle project. I repeat, Miracle is not a project that that try to address solution, but Miracle try to find a new way to understand different type of risk. Some risks are already defined, but others are not defined because emerge from the community. Climate is one of that, but probably other risks, more socio-economical risk, need to be integrated in a new way of evaluation, just to give to the community a sort of prioritization maps that could address for the to address, for example, new plan, new tools, new site-specific project, or even to reframing the planning tools that they are in charge of managing the territory. So thank you very much, and I hope that this brief presentation give you an overview of what Miracle will try to do.
Thank you, Filippo. Please come here. A moment, there is a question for you, and then I have a question for you, Filippo.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. My name is Bojana Horvat. I'm from Faculty of Civil Engineering in Rijeka. My question is connected to preparation of demographic data. I suppose you showed the map of demographics of the pilot area. I suppose you based it on census data.
Yeah.
What I'm interested is that static or dynamic data? I mean, all the coastal regions have the problem of strong migration, especially during the summer. So how did you find a way to deal with those dynamic data, or did you just deal with static data from the census?
Actually, this is the first runs of the system. We use the static data because I agree completely with you, and even not considering the touristic fluxes or other more famous fluxes that oblige us to reframe the idea of what does it mean census. The census are based on the residents. Yes. And we know that in some cases, some people are registered as a resident in a place, but really living in another. So, of course, this is one of the limitations of the census, but is the baseline that we could use to start a common approach to have the same data comparable in a different area in the national perspective, because otherwise, probably we could achieve some very site-specific information, even very ambitious, but are not replicable and are not comparable. But using statistics that are provided by the National Demographic Statistic Agency, we have a common perspective that is useful for all the area and are comparable.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
There are questions? Other questions? No.
Sì.
Filippo, te la dico in italiano, poi c'è Pietro che mi traduce, che voglio essere. Allora, innanzitutto complimenti, è un bellissimo lavoro che io non conoscevo, è veramente molto interessante. Volevo chiederti una cosa. Voi analizzate chiaramente le diverse tipologie di rischio che di solito in qualche modo si studiano quando si parla proprio di questioni climatiche. Dopodiché passate chiaramente ad un'analisi multirischio. Allora, questo passaggio come avviene? Cioè con una sovrapposizione in qualche modo delle indagini, delle analisi e quindi una normalizzazione poi dei dati? Sì. Quindi fate questo, quindi fate un'operazione di normalizzazione in modo che alla fine, ok, dite qualità, insomma, avete utilizzato bassa, alta, eccetera, oppure un numero, mettendo insieme le diverse informazioni dei diversi layer, giusto? È questo che avete fatto. No, più che altro per confrontare anche nostre linee di ricerca e poi cose che forse per CRESCO sono importanti. Un'altra cosa, per la qualità ambientale avete utilizzato Invest come, diciamo, software di indagine della qualità ambientale o no?
No.
No? No. Ok. No, più che altro per curiosità, ecco.
I answered. So
Sì, aspetta un attimo che facciamo tradurre. Aspetta, vai.
So the question was that while analyzing this kind of risks or threats studied in climate change related problems, then they analyze, they do some analysis multi-risk based. So how does this passage come out? Is there a normalization of data that are collected? The question was about if there was a final standard data about the information that were collected, and the answer was positive because he was saying that this is exactly what he did. And also there was another question about the software used in this research, if it was the Invest yes. software, and
no,
we're going to have an answer for that.
Ok, prego Filippo.
Yes, I could answer even with the previous one. Yes, as I said, the preliminary layout is related to the heat stress and the connection between all the socio-demographic and environmental data that help us to create a very relevant and site-specific identification of the characteristic of the territory. And this is a sort of the basic layout, and we could use it for create a evaluation successive maps thanks using a multi-criteria analysis and multi-criteria evaluation, giving for each of these specific criteria and index that I show you in the different cells, in the different metrics, a value. Because the direct consequence, the direct relation between, for example, older people and higher priority is not so direct in some area, because in some area probably, okay, it's qualified with older people, but there is a lot of facilities that could help older people. So the general level of risk is lower than other area where the older people are less, but the facilities to support them are even less. So this is, I repeat, is the preliminary calculation that allow us to, thanks to the successive steps with a multi-criteria analysis in relation to the political dimension, the political perspective of each territory, would really redefine a very site-specific risk map. After that, we overlap the level of the other type of risk taken by the official documents provided by national, regional, or local authorities. For example, the hydrological risk map that already defined area that is organized by different level of risk. And so we take these geographical limits and we overlap, having a normalized results that starting with the preliminary one, overlapping the value of the rest of the risk. Finally, the second question, we use a different approach to evaluate environmental quality, because in this case, we are not considering quality in terms of the classical quality that is evaluated by the regional environmental agency, ARPA, that say, okay, the quality of environment is good or bad. In this case, we evaluate the performative dimension of the vegetation that say, if the vegetation is healthy, could respond better to the, for example, heat waves, or could absorb more rain. So we use satellite data that, thanks to this specific spectral dimension, could evaluate in a larger scale perspective, of course, the quality of the status of the ecological health index that is explicitly used for addressing the adaptive capacity of the environment.
Okay, thank you, Filippo. Grazie molte. Are there some questions? No? Okay, we have the lunch now. We finish this first part of our day. E Filippo, noi ricominciamo alle 2:30. Grazie molte e ci vediamo tra un po'. Grazie tante.
See you later. Have a good lunch.
Va bene? Sì. No, ma noi siamo altrettanto bravi. Noi siamo altrettanto bravi.